contributes to gender equality and girls empowerment. Before we start the session, to warm up the mood, can you share with us where are you from and how is the weather there in the chat box? For example, me, Fatima, from Indonesia, Central Java to be exact. It's kind of hot and sunny here. And how is the weather there and where are you from, so we can know how many countries or not, how diverse the participants that we have today. And also before we start the session, I will share some of the code of conduct or the rules or safeguarding rules for this event. So this discussion will be, the open space for everyone here. Let me share with you the share screen. Okay, so here is our code of conduct for our meeting today. So you can keep in mind the safeguarding rules for today. Do not share extreme, inappropriate, exploitative, offensive, or harmful content. Do not share information of survivors of abuse or vulnerable young people. Do not share adverts, links, misinformation. Do not share personal data or online activity is tracked or harvested. Do not share meeting link with other intruders to join the meeting. Do not allow others to use account and posting on the group. The next one, never engage in any form of bullying, harassment, discrimination, humiliating, degrading, or intimidation others. Do respect others, appreciate differences and challenges from different contexts and diversity. Please report of other participants condone inappropriate content or any concern, suspicious matter to safeguarding focal point. Today, if you encounter any difficulties or technical problem or regarding to the safeguarding rules, you can report and asking help to the help desk, which is a Ray, hi Ray. She will be your help desk today. And yeah, Rosa is in Jakarta, the weather is too hot. Okay, same here, Rosa. And also for your kind information, this meeting will have accessibility feature, which is the interpreter feature for the 5 languages, which is Thai, Indonesia, Burmese, Bangla, and Nepal. For you who need the interpreter features, please check the interpretation button next to the share screen, and please choose the languages that you need the interpretation. I hope that you can use and have don't have any difficulties to access the interpreter. If you face any, please inform us through the help desk link. And also, we will have sign language interpreter for our meeting today. The last but not least, before we open the session, please rename your name with name, organization, and country. For me, example, Fatima from EWF, Indonesia. Yeah, so it will be make the organizer work more easier. Okay, let us open this session with the opening that will be addressed by Ray from Plan International, Ray Lena Della. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Fatima, and welcome everyone to this side event. So just to let you know, as proudly Fatima's already mentioned, in addition to the information that she mentioned, so there is an ongoing forum right now called the Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. So it's being done annually to review the progress that countries are making in relation to the achievement of what we call the Sustainable Development Goals. So countries around the world have signed up to several goals and objectives that will ensure that the rights of everyone, including of you, young people, and even, of course, girls and everyone in all our diversity, that our rights are being respected and fulfilled on different accounts in public service delivery, access to these services, among others. So in the region, in the Asia Pacific, it is being reviewed currently. There are several sustainable development goals, and there are currently 5 or 6 SDGs that are currently under review. And included in these SDGs that are being reviewed right now is gender equality and access to education. So that's why the focus of our conversation right now will revolve around these two sustainable development goals. And before I proceed with my presentation, just to let you know that the conversation from this side event will be documented. We will consolidate them. And what we will do is to submit this to what we call the UNESCA, the agency that is in charge of delivering these messages to the United Nations, so that our inputs will contribute to the review of the SDGs that I mentioned. So this discussion is very significant. So we'd really like to, we hope that you can be, open with your suggestions, with your opinions, as we make this space safe for all of us, to share our views and to have an open interaction about the topics, girls' voice, choice, and power. So to give you more background, about this event, I'm going to present a study that was done by Plan International last year. Can you please give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen now? Yeah, okay, thank you. So this side event was actually named after the study we call the Voice, Choice, and Power. So Plan International is the organization that I represent, one of the organizers of this side event, and we work for children's rights and gender equality. So every year we do what we call a Asia Pacific Girls Report, and last year we focused on voice, choice, and power. So in that report, we have what we call the Girls Leadership Index, meaning we looked at several countries in the region about how they are progressing in terms of several domains, which I will discuss later. So the focus, as I mentioned, of this year's report is the ongoing work of female youth activism for gender equality, social inclusion, and the current state of girls' leadership. Because, of course, we believe that girls have the right to participate and have the power and the ability to become leaders. So there are key findings under this study, which are broken up into two main parts. As I mentioned, the Girls Leadership Index, and then focusing on one domain on leadership, on girls' civic engagement and activism for gender equality. All right, so this is the methodology. We did interviews with girls and young women across the region. We also gathered data from different sources, and we did what we call social media listening. So just to let you know that the research has been done rigorously using this methodology. So the domains that I mentioned focuses on education, meaning how are girls accessing education, or how are countries performing in terms of providing access to education among girls in the region. Protection, how are governments providing protection services and ensuring the protection of girls and young women in the region. Political voice and representation, this is what we will focus on later. That's why we called it Girls' Voice, Choice, and Power. Economic opportunities is another domain that we looked at, health, and then laws and policies. And then we looked at different countries across the region. So key findings, we can also send these to you, but just to go through this briefly, the top ranking country is Singapore on 6 domains. They ranked 10th, meaning in laws and policies, meaning they had a high score in that. So we basically give a score to all these countries in the region on education, on laws and policies, on protection, etc. The second ranking country is Thailand. So maybe we have some Thai participants here. domain rankings ranging from first, they ranked first in laws and policies, and then 12th in protection. Of course, if you'd like to dig deeper about what do we mean with laws and policies, what do we mean by protection, we can send you a copy of the report, and I can also provide the link in the chat box so you can look at it, in more detail. And then the Philippines. I am from the Philippines, and we ranked third in the index with laws. Of course, we excel in laws and policies, and then 13th in health. And then these are the lowest ranking countries. So we have Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Brunei Darussalam. I understand that we have a lot of participants here from Brunei. Don't feel bad about it because there are caveats when it comes to the index. So the next slide actually explains that there's no single country that received the same ranking across all domains. And these are computed on an average basis. So every countries, including Brunei, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all the rest, they have areas of comparative strength and areas of areas that demand improvement or that can still be improved. So even the Philippines, even Singapore, even Thailand, which ranked first in the index, also has areas that need improvement. And of course, there has also been some questions, for instance, in the Philippines, where we ranked first with laws and policies, but how are these policies actually implemented? So just to show that the purpose of the Girls Leadership Index is not to really, put any country in a bad light, but really to highlight our strengths and to also look at the areas where we need improvement, and more importantly, how we can work together as a region to ensure that girls and young women our rights under these domains are implemented. Okay, so I will just go very quickly now to the focus of our discussion on girls' civic engagement and activism for gender equality in Asia Pacific. So there are different indices and several domains in the study, but we focused on political voice and representation. In that study, we realized that girls and young women in the region, like many of us here, they focus their activism, and I assume that many of you can actually relate to this, that you've worked so much on gender equality and social inclusions, particularly patriarchal norms, attitudes and behavior, social and economic resources and safety nets are among the concerns, and then policy frameworks and budgets. So these are the main advocacy initiatives in relation to gender equality and social inclusion that girls and young women in the region have focused on last year. These are the following approaches, tactics, and tools that were used. And again, I'm sure many of you can relate to these: awareness raising, youth mobilization and outreach, influencing public opinion or policy.
I give you two number because sometimes he jarang
evidence building,
56
and fundraising. Okay, yeah. So
89.
may we request everyone to mute their mic, please? Okay, yeah. So we're showing you these approaches, tactics, and tools, especially because most of our participants here are girls and young women already involved in several initiatives or would like to be involved in some other initiatives. So these are the ways that we can do our activism. These are the ways that we can participate and be more involved, like doing awareness raising, youth mobilization, among others. All right. And then spaces for civic engagement and activism for gender equality and social inclusion. There are different spaces where our girls and young women have been part of, and that we encourage everyone to also, contemplate and really consider being a part of as well. There are networks at different levels in different countries, at the local level, at the national level, and also at the regional level. We have ASEAN Youth Forum here. We have Weaving Women's Voices in Southeast Asia. SARC Youth Platform is here. The ASEAN Youth Forum is here. Plan International is here. So you can also reach out to us if you're interested in becoming part of any of the movement or to learn more about how to become an advocate or activist for gender equality and social inclusion. They've also been very much involved in digital technology. So it has been convenient for many of our young girls and women advocates to make use and take advantage of the use of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, among others, as part of their work. And these are some of the calls to action that they've made. So address the root causes of gender equality by creating an enabling environment for leadership, support girls' leadership and participation through policy dialogue and investment, flexible funding, address gender inequalities in the home, educational institutions and communities, to develop and strengthen accessible and inclusive human rights mechanisms, specifically for activists and advocates, provide safe and open civic and digital spaces for girls' meaningful participation, uphold the rights of girls in all their diversity, to meaningfully participate in the creation, implementation, and monitoring of policies and programs. So this is what the study was all about. And in relation to our discussion today, as you will notice later and hear from girl advocates themselves, they have done a lot of work, even during the pandemic. And we will learn from them on how they did it, what inspired them, and also hear from them the recommendations on how girls' rights and young women's rights in the region can be better fulfilled and respected. So as I mentioned, our discussion today will enrich the findings of the study, but not only that, also the work of that you are doing, the organizations being represented here, individuals being represented here, and of course in relation to the SDG review that I mentioned a while ago. So thank you so much. And now I'll hand it back to Fatima. Unless you have questions, we encourage you to also type it in the chat box. And if we have time, we'll entertain questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you for the comprehensive context, background, and important information shared with us. As Ray mentioned before, that the suggestion from this event, we will bring the suggestion from this event to the higher level of advocacy. So I believe that you have many important insights and voices in your head. Please also feel free to share your suggestion inside on the chat box. And also we will have an interactive Q&A session at the end of the session. So you can also use that session to raise your question or maybe also suggestion that you have. Okay, next to the next speaker, we will have Ms. Shahira Malik, a young female Bruneian who is currently a human resources management undergraduate student at University of Leicester, United Kingdom. While balancing academics with extracurricular activities, she was chosen as the first chairwoman of the Women's Club under Brunei Students' Union. The Women's Club was only established last July 2021 after 50 years of existence in the Brunei Student Union. The club aims to empower women by raising awareness on systematic issues and providing a safe platform for girls and young women. The Women's Club has collaborated with Project Women Brunei, a WAVE member, on several awareness-raising activities on girls and young women, issues that were made possible with the support of WAVE. Excellent. And Ms. Shahira will be speaking on behalf of WAVE on ending gender-based violence against girls and young women. Ms. Shahira, the screen is entirely yours. Please.
Thank you, Fatima. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I am Shahira Malik. I come from Brunei Darussalam, and I'm currently a university student in the UK. I am the first chairwoman of the Brunei Students' Union Women's Club in the UK, established in July 2021. We have collaborated with Project Women Brunei on awareness-raising programs related to violence against women and girls. Project Women Brunei is a member of Weaving Women's Voices in Southeast Asia, or WEAVE, who is a co-organizer of the side event. I would like to thank all the organizers for giving me an opportunity to share the perspectives of girls from WEAVE member countries from Brunei, Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand. I would like to speak on ending gender-based violence against girls and young women, as it has escalated further during COVID-19. The first thing I would like to address are the common forms of gender-based violence experienced by girls and young women in Brunei, which is also commonly shared by girls and young women in Southeast Asia. Firstly, intimate partner violence. Being in a relationship is part of growing up for us girls and young women. Like us, we learn to navigate life towards adulthood. However, the prevalence of intimate partnership violence is evident amongst girls and young women here in Southeast Asia. This is experienced by single girls and young women with their boyfriends. Likewise, this is also experienced by girls and young women who marry early either by choice, arranged, or forced. Intimate partner violence committed by their partners or spouses causes physical, sexual, psychological harm, including acts of physical aggression, sexual coercion, psychological abuse, and controlling behaviors. Most girls and young women are afraid to end this kind of relationship due to the victim-blaming culture of our society. Secondly, sexual abuse and violence that includes active rape and incest. Victims are left with such trauma affecting their mental health that has such huge impact in their daily lives. The worst part is for girls to experience unwanted and unplanned pregnancy at a very young age. Thirdly, sexual grooming. When girls and young women are sexually groomed, the perpetrator would establish a friendship, trust, and emotional connection with them in order to manipulate, exploit, and abuse them. Anyone, regardless of age, gender, or race, can groom. We need to continue to raise awareness on sexual grooming to prevent this from happening and help to protect girls and young women to fall victims. Lastly, sexual harassment. This can be both online and offline. Girls and young women are constantly battling sexual harassment in their daily lives. Moving on, I'd like to address the increase of gender-based violence during COVID-19, both online and offline. With the increase in the usage of social media and other forms of digital technology, harassers take advantage of this as it is easily accessible and can be done anonymously with less consequences. Furthermore, all forms of violence against girls and young women, notably domestic and sexual violence, has increased, with their abusers being their intimate partners. As the pandemic worsens, girls and young women are compelled to stay at home with their abusers because they have nowhere else to go, allowing violence to escalate. We have seen in the news such devastating news of young women who died due to spousal abuse during the pandemic. This only shows how vulnerable girls and young women are while we are in COVID-19. So what can we do individually to end gender-based violence? Nowadays, a millennial girl like me lives in a parallel world of virtuality and reality, brought about by easy access to digital technology. We frequently find ourselves crisscrossing between these two worlds, which are both vulnerable to acts of gender-based violence against girls and young women. So, as an individual,
Okay. Yes, I unmuted.
Which is one, learn to identify gender-based violence in our daily life. Secondly, learn how to say no when we feel uncomfortable and our boundaries are violated. And thirdly, advocate against gender-based violence on social media. But what can we do collectively to end gender-based violence? To continue to support for survivors of gender-based violence, we can all collectively advocate for safe spaces and create support groups amongst girls and young women. We, the university students in the UK, felt the need to have a safe space for female students as we are so far away from home. Therefore, the creation of Brunei Students' Union Women's Club was created as a safe space to discuss, advocate, and raise awareness on issues surrounding women. As the club developed, we started to get in touch with organizations in Brunei, such as Project Women, to collaborate on projects. We are grateful to have collaborated with organizations that share the same passion. Because of Project Women Brunei, we are able to join networks such as this, which enhances the network of girls, young women, by joining programs and initiatives of Weaving Women's Voices in Southeast Asia, or WEAVE. WEAVE had a series of consultations among its members in the region on the need for a regional referral system to help end gender-based violence against girls and young women. Most victims of gender-based violence are afraid to come forward and report their cases. It is very important for girls and young women have access to justice. Allow me to share WEAVE's recommendations here. A regional referral system must be accessible, affordable, with adequate services. B, sensitive to the varying and diverse context of marginalized groups, for example, trafficked victims and migrant workers who are victims of violence, particularly women and girls. C, it should be able to address the challenges faced by victims during COVID-19 as well as beyond. D, clear guidance and mechanisms to facilitate access to justice of victims. E, clear referral pathway for various violations. F, take into consideration the healing and recovery of the victim survivor. G, this should be complement existing referral and coordination systems at the national level. And lastly, this network of service providers must expand and address cross-border issues, not only in Southeast Asia, but also in Asia Pacific and beyond. To finish my talk, I'd like to make a call for all girls and young women like me in Asia Pacific to continue to use our voices, make informed choices, and empower each other through our collective and inclusive networks in ending gender-based violence. No matter how small or big the act is, one change is still a change, and you may save a life out there. Thank you.
Great. So on time. Okay. Thank you, Shahira, for to sharing the important, the excellent works and finding from your organization with us. Yeah, awesome. Let's give applause to Shahira virtually. Thank you so much. And before we move to the next speaker, I would like to remind you for all the participants, please mute yourself while the speaker or other people are speaking, so it can be more convenient for everyone. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next speaker, Nikaran from ASEAN Youth Forum. Pardon me if I'm not pronouncing your name, spelling your name well, correctly. She's also known as Mimi. Is a young feminist activist in Thailand. She has been in the front line of defending feminist and gender issues. She's also an ally of several movements involving youth, education, and economy. Today, she will be addressing the topic of girls' activism in a shrinking civic space. Mimi, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I would like to thank you to organizer, interpreter, staff, and all of you that come to sharing today and make this work happen. Today I would like to clarify sexism ideals within Thai government and democracy movement. Also, I will address how diverse communities can support Thai activism. First, there is a common understanding in Thailand that men and women are equal, but that is not true. Patriarchal ideals maintain a dominant role in society. These ideals create a hierarchy where power is held over the other groups through use of coercion, force, domination, and control. Today, I will be discussing the following topics. First, discrimination by the government. Thai government doesn't actively spread the knowledge about gender laws, equity, or abortion law. Even we fight successfully to change the law which allow people to have abortion service. They don't mainstream it publicly or within the education system. And government or Congress doesn't take my opinion seriously because of my age and my gender. Okay. Secondly, the challenge for people who are assigned females at birth as me. We face inequality and the issues within the democracy movement, not only in the government or political space, but also in democracy movement. We also face this discrimination. We have been deprived space in some situation due to lack of consensus and from lack of invitation to participate, like the limited time to talk. We also face mansplaining in talk shows. People who in marginalized gender group are not given space to talk about power and gender issue. The men or like people who talk about economy will have the more space. Oh, hello. Okay. 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 In both the government and democracy movement, we face being misgender. I am a non-binary. I face being misgender because of my appearance and the expectation of society like heteronormativity. Yeah. The keyword is we feel small. They don't care about gender balancing in talk show or in like the meeting. They don't care about gender balancing and they limit time to talk, and topics that affect gender are given less attention than other mainstream topics. Finally, I will address how diverse communities can support activism in Thailand. I don't know about what different communities can do because it is my first time. I just know about this meeting. But as each of them, I know that they are unique and have their own interests. I think when Thai activists start to drive a movement or make statement, if different communities shows that they are in support or in solidarity of that movement, it will empower and encourage the activists. The people in the communities can, for example, show support by signing the Thai activist statement. Yeah, and for this action that shows the government the gender issue is also very important. This is evidenced by the support from multiple and diverse communities. Also through sharing experience about gender issue and emphasizing the importance of this topic, we as an activists will very much appreciate it, and real conversation that being had on this issue is the material that we can use to bring attention who those who are dominant the movement so that they can be made aware of the real life situation and that are happening to the people. So Thai activists believe in equality, believe in uh, power sharing, and we against power over and gender-based violence, also all of the discrimination. So I think the connection or the supporting from the diverse community will help us very much, like the statement we just write an a draft statement about the war, peace, and I think some of you may seen it, and the signing is very impact the government and who those dominant. They will listen to us with this material. Thank you.
So much, really, thank you for sharing with us the reality and the dynamic of the movement and also the challenges that you face with your community on the ground. I believe that to strengthen the regional movement, the regional solidarity, we should also strengthen the national and local movement, like the works that you have been done in Thailand. Okay. Um, yeah. Let's move to the next speaker from Plan International, Hima Sunar, a youth activist who is involved in local advocacy in her community. Coming from a marginalized community in Nepal, she is currently pursuing her bachelor degree in BBA. She is an enthusiastic and active girl who was also a part of Equal Access as the community researcher. Plan International Nepal has given her an opportunity to be the youth ambassador from UNESCO Club and has successfully been able to intervene and spread awareness about human trafficking through creative and innovative ways like script dramas, theater performances in the community, and much more. She was also involved in counseling the dropout children about the importance of education and counsel their family as well. Being part of adolescent girl network in her local community, she was involved in advocacy for the child marriage and managed to stop 30 until 40 child marriage from taking place. Besides this, she was also active in COVID-19 awareness, social media campaign, and other different programs from Plan International and other organizations. Today, she will address the topic of girls' activism for gender equality and inclusion. For Hema Sumar, over to you, please. Hema here. Yep, I think it's here. Hema. Audio, that's not clear. Is it my audio?
Hema, are you there? Yeah, Fatima, if you don't mind, yeah, maybe I can come in first. Well, I think Hema is figuring out a technical problem with her audio. Before we proceed with our next speaker, is it possible for us to, oh, Fatima's voice is not clear, so maybe also Fatima can fix that. But do we have Hema? Lirisha, are you here? Lirisha?
Hello?
Hi. Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are. Please come in. And thank you so much, Fatima. Yes. Hema and Lirisha, please. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess it's our turn.
Hello.
Yes, please, you can start.
Okay. Hello everyone. Namaste. मेरो नाम हिमा सुनार हो म नेपालको बाँकी जिल्लाबाट
Hello, my name is Hema Sunar. I come from Abake district in Nepal.
नेपालको दलित समुदायबाट हो म जुन
I come from a Dalit community in Nepal.
जुन पिछडिएको समुदाय हो म दलित समुदायबाट हुनुको कारणले धेरै भेदभाव भोग्नु परेको छ
I come from one of the backward groups or communities in Nepali. Because of that reason, I face a lot of discrimination.
हाम्रो समुदायमा आज पनि छोरीहरूलाई छोरा जस्तो मान दिएको छैन र म पनि छोरी भएको कारणले धेरै नै भेदभाव भोग्नु परेको छ
In societies like ours, daughters are not given equal rights and respect as sons, and therefore I have faced a lot of discrimination because I was a daughter and a girl.
म छोरी भएको कारणले घरको धेरै छलफलहरुमा आफ्नो निर्णय दिन पाइरहेको हुँदैन
Because I'm a daughter, I have not been able to participate in many decisions that take place in my home.
आफ्नो घरमा छलफल हुँदाखेरि तिमी अर्काको घर जाने जातो भन्छन् भने विवाह गरेर गएको घरमा अर्को घरबाट आएको मान्छेलाई के थाहा भन्छन् यसको अर्थ छोरीहरूको घर नै हुँदैन त
So when I try to take part in decisions in my home, they say that I get married away, so I don't need to take part because I'm not important. And in my husband's house, I come from another house, so I don't have an important place. So does it mean that I don't have any place? A daughter doesn't have any place?
मेरो समुदायमा मात्र होइन देशैभरि नै लैङ्गिक असमानता व्यापक रूपमा रहेको छ साथै बाल विवाह मानव बेचबिखन लैङ्गिक हिंसा महिनावारीमा भेदभाव शिक्षामा लैङ्गिक भेदभाव जस्ता अन्य विभिन्न समस्याहरू पनि रहेको छ
So the discrimination does not only exist in my community, it exists all over the country. There are child marriages, there are trafficking persons, there are discrimination based on education and other privileges that daughters get.
जो असर छोरीहरूलाई परिरहेको छ बाल विवाहले गर्दा बालिकाहरूको यौन तथा प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य र अधिकार बिग्रिरहेको छ भने अर्कोतर्फ बेचबिखनका शिकार पनि बन्न पुगेका छन् छोरीहरू
Child marriage has had a lot of adverse effects. One of the impact it has is on their sexual health and other health issues. It has also impacted their overall life.
महिनावारी हुँदा बाहिर बस्नु पर्ने हुँदा कति छोरीहरू बलात्कारको शिकार बनेका छन्
When during the menstruation they have to live outside or isolated because of that they've been subject to many discrimination and violence.
यस्तो समस्या त हाम्रो देशमा पहिलेदेखि नै थियो
Such problems were there from a long past in our country.
अझ कोभिडले अझ धेरै समस्याहरू ल्याएको छ जब कोभिड भयो हाम्रो देशमा पनि लकडाउन भयो
So when COVID happened, it compounded the problems. That there was a lockdown in our country.
पहिले कहिले पनि लकडाउन भएको थिएन हामीलाई घरमा सीमित भएर बस्न एकदमै गाह्रो भयो
So lockdown was something very new to our country. We were limited in our homes, which is very difficult for us.
स्कुल नि बन्द थिए पसलहरू नि बन्द थिए हामी हाम्रो साथीहरूसँग भेट्न पनि पाउँदैन थियौं
Schools were closed, shops were closed. We weren't able to meet our friends and relatives.
हामी केटीहरूलाई यो लकडाउनको अवस्थामा सेनिटरी प्याड किन्न पनि एकदम गाह्रो पाइदै नपाइने पाइए पनि एकदम महँगो पैसा तिर्नुपर्ने अवस्था थियो
Especially for us girls, it was difficult because we weren't able to purchase sanitary pads, and if we were able to, they were expensive for us.
कोभिडको बेलामा हामीले पहिलेको जस्तो कार्यक्रमहरू गर्न पाएका थिएनौं जनचेतनामूलक कार्यक्रम र्याली सडक नाटक अन्य सचेतनामूलक कार्यक्रम समुदायमा गर्न सकेका थिएनौं
Because of the COVID, we weren't able to run any awareness programs or rallies or any other activities that we were doing previously.
हाम्रो क्लबको मिटिङहरू पनि पहिले जस्तो नियमित रूपमा भएको थिएन जसको कारणले समस्याहरू बढ्दै गएको अवस्था थियो
We couldn't have regular meetings of our club, although we could see that there were many problems happening in the society.
हाम्रो समाजमा आज पनि छोरीहरूलाई धेरै कुरामा रोकिन्छ जस्तै यो सब्जेक्ट मात्र पढ्ने बिहान बेलुका मात्रै घरबाट बाहिर ननिस्किने यो खाने बाहिर बसेर पढ्नु हुँदैन घरमै बस्नुपर्छ भन्ने सोचाइ छ
There are still a lot of barriers for us girls in our society. We can't decide subjects to study. We can't even decide which food to eat. We can't even decide where to stay inside or outside house.
जुन छोराहरूलाई एकदमै सजिलै गर्न सक्छन् कुनै रोकटोक छैन स्वतन्त्र रूपमा
This doesn't happen for our sons because they're free and they can do things without any barriers.
छोराहरूलाई चाहिँ स्वतन्त्र रूपमा जुनसुकै सब्जेक्ट पढ्न पाउँछन् बाहिर बसेर पढ्न पाउँछन् उनीहरूलाई के सोच्नु नै पर्दैन
They are free to choose their subjects for study. They can stay outside of the homes and wherever they like. They say they don't have any barriers as such.
यस्तो कुरा बुझाउन हाम्रो समाजमा जनचेतनामूलक धेरै कार्यक्रम गर्न जरुरी छ लैङ्गिक समानता सम्बन्धी
So for this to happen, we need to conduct a lot of programs in our community, especially that raises awareness and gender equality.
हाम्रो वडा मिलेर हालैमा हाम्रो वडा बाल मुक्त घोषणा गरेका छौं।
हेमासी यसलाई दोहोऱ्याउनु त।
हाम्रो किशोरी क्लब र हाम्रो वडा मिलेर हालैमा हाम्रो वडा बाल विवाह मुक्त घोषणा गरेका छौं।
Yeah, we girls have joined together and our local ward governments have joined together to make it our ward a place free of child marriages.
हाम्रो वडा हुँदै गाउँपालिका पनि बाल विवाह मुक्त घोषणा भइसकेको छ।
Our ward government and the local government have been declared free of child marriages.
साथै अब जिल्ला पनि बाल विवाह मुक्त जिल्ला हुने प्रक्रियामा रहेको छ।
So not only our local governments, the whole district is in the plan process of becoming free of child marriages.
यस्तो घोषणा तथा नियम कानुन हुँदा हुँदै पनि अझै हाम्रो ठाउँमा बाल विवाह भइरहेको छ।
So despite all this happening, we still face a lot of child marriages.
बाल विवाह मात्र होइन, लैङ्गिक असमानताको समस्या पनि अझै रहिरहेको छ।
Not only child marriages, there are many other problems related to gender inequality.
त्यसैले म सरकारले यस्तो समस्याहरू समाधान गर्नका लागि
So to solve all these problems,
हामी जस्तो किशोरीहरू, महिलाहरू र अन्य पिछडिएका समुदायलाई सहयोग गर्नका लागि अनुरोध गर्दछु।
So to solve all these problems, I'd like to request the government to address these, especially those issues that are related to young adolescent girls.
म जस्तो अभियानमा लागेका अभियन्ता, युवा, किशोरीहरूलाई पनि कुनै प्रकारको सहयोग, सुरक्षा र उत्प्रेरणा दिन जरुरी छ।
It's important that girls and activists like us are given enough safety and motivation to get involved in these issues.
म विश्वास राख्छु कि सम्बन्धित निकायले चाहिएको निर्णय लिन्छ।
I believe that the concerned authorities will take a decision appropriately on this.
Thank you.
Thank you for this. So apologies for the consecutive interpretation.
Fatima?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you come closer to the mic? I think there's something wrong with the audio. It's still not that clear.
What about now?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you,
Okay.
Fatima.
Okay, sorry for the technical issues. Okay, I'm clear now, right?
Yes.
Great. So thank you, Hema, for the sharing the heartbreaking daily struggle that faced by the girls and women in your community. And I believe that it also happens in many communities around the world. It's heartbreaking, it's exhausting, and also I believe there are women, there are girls that are strong like you and other women in this world that want to take part to challenge those inequalities that happen in our communities that we face every day in everyday struggle. Okay. Ray, do you want to share the Mentimeter now or later?
Later, yes, later.
Later.
Thank
Okay.
you, Fatima.
Okay, great. Thank you once again, Hema. And now we move to the next speaker that will discuss about the girls and access to education. She is Atkia Samia Rahman from SAARC Youth Platform. She's a youth speaker, social development volunteer, a global thinker, a learner and researcher in the making. She is a climate reality leader who is currently working as a director of social media and web development at the Climate Education Project. She's actively served as the deputy head of planning department at the project of Potkola and worked at Give Bangladesh Foundation for the past 3 years. She worked as campus ambassador for Teach for Bangladesh. She was also one of the young fellows from major group for children and youth disaster reduction project 2021. Her works are mainly focused on education inequality, breaking social taboo, mental development of children of sex workers, establishing alternative livelihood for sex workers, climate adaptation, and disaster resilience through awareness and active participation. She's currently pursuing her undergraduate degree at the University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. She today will be speaking on girls and access to education. Akia, please, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Atke Samia Rahman, a member of Stark Youth Platform. Thank you so much for giving me the floor among my fellow incredible panelists. With no further ado, I would like to start with a very personal note. Before today's speech, I was thinking about what would I be sharing in this webinar. Should I be talking about statistical research, about the education rate, higher education rate, about the pandemic, the obstacles? There are so many things to talk in this regard. Since girls' education is something very close to my heart, I couldn't quite put my thoughts into words. Then I remembered this interview I took at Doludia in Bangladesh in 2021. It's the third largest red light area in the world. So back then, I had been coordinating a project on the alternative livelihood of sex workers by Project Potchola. Our work was to choose few sex workers and supporting them to build an alternative livelihood, at the same time giving their female children an opportunity to shelter home, formal and non-formal education. And every other sex worker that I interviewed told me the same thing, that too repeatedly, and I quote, "I did not get the opportunity to study. I was abducted or sold. If I had been educated, I wouldn't have had to live here. But I want my girl to be educated. I want her to shine and pursue a better life than mine. This is why we are all here." During this pandemic situation, 10 million more girls have become susceptible to child marriage. According to a report in 2020, Bangladesh, there was a 7% spike in child marriages when at least 101 child marriages were reported and more than 6,000 child marriage attempts were prevented. With the increasing child marriage rate, the education rate has been dropped worldwide. Asian countries, South Asian countries, the pandemic has affected girls' education all over the world and has subjected them towards child marriage. It is a vicious cycle of education dropout, child marriage, domestic abuse, mental abuse, and it goes on and on and on. But what can we do? In order to give girls access to education, we can't only rely on policies and governments. We need the change of narratives. And it needs to start from home. It needs to start from the market we buy groceries from the tea stalls to conferences we go to. We do need to make our girls powerful. We do need to tell them that they are capable of doing anything and everything if they want to. But that isn't enough. We need to teach our boys that our girls need to be educated. We need to teach them that girls have the basic right to access education. It seems like a common sense, a simple knowledge everybody should have, but sadly, in the rural areas and among the vulnerable populations, especially in the South Asia, it is still an unforeseen thought. We need our parents to have a strong stand on this. In countries like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Nepal, child marriage is still prevalent and it's not even a secret. People are marrying away 12-year-old daughters out of poverty. Instead of giving them the voice they need, we are snatching that away from them. Last year, when I went to the Char areas of Gaibandha district, which is a northern district in Bangladesh during pandemic for a medical campaign after flood, I saw 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds coming with reproductive health problems, and each one of them with a 1-year-old child or a 2-year-old child. Unfortunately, I wasn't even shocked. To sum up, we need cross-sectoral approaches in this regard. We need to come up with plans to analyze the policy gaps and to minimize them. But more than that, we need to keep teaching each and everyone around us from our own grounds and platforms, from where we stand, about how important female education platforms, about how important it is to create scope so that girls get the access to education. It might seem like it's a
Hello, Samia.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So it might seem like it's a very small approach, but each and everything counts. It can be a social media post. It can be a conversation with a friend who thinks otherwise. It can be anywhere. We need to give our girls the voice they need, and we need to do it today and now. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you. It's very brilliant that you start your speech with personal stories, because I think we are on the same page that the personal is political for the feminist movement, and also small action matters. It takes the village to raise an equal environment for women in girls' life. Okay, thank you so much, Samia. Let's give applause for Samia for addressing her insight and suggestion today. And yeah, we are approaching. Yeah, we are approaching the end of the session. But before that, we will be sharing Mentimeter with you to know your opinion about this event today, and also the opinion about some issues. Ray?
Yes, thank you so much, Fatima. And again, thank you so much to all our girl advocates for your powerful messages. As actually, I took note of many of the points that you raised. So thank you so much for another inspiring session that we had. As you have noticed, our session today is quite different. So we usually have, of course, like experts talking, which is not entirely wrong, of course. But in this session, we intentionally decided to have more space for young advocates to speak of your experiences, share your views and your recommendations. And I think you have just proven that we made the best decision to give more space for you, to hear from you, to listen to your thoughts. So thank you so much for your generosity of sharing with us your experiences. In the interest of time, we may not have enough moment for question and answer, but we'd still like to capture your views, your feelings about the topics that we discussed. So we're going to have Mentimeter. I'm going to share it with you now. If you could go, for those who can go to menti.com. So that's www.menti.com. I will also share the link in the chat box. So here is the first set of questions. Yeah, so that's the code. So we can go to menti.com, and then here is the code. I will share with you please let me know if you could see it, or if you're having any problem. Yeah, where's my Menti? Yeah, let me just look for it. Okay. Can you see my screen? Not yet. But have you seen the, yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So the first question is, are you seeing the same set of questions? No, I don't think so. Let me try that again. But were you able to connect through the Mentimeter? Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, I think this is it. Yeah, so now let me try to share my screen. I'm having problems sharing my screen. All right. Now you can see it. All right. So what word or phrase describe how you feel after the presentation? So we're seeing enlightened, stop harmful practices, positive, moved by stories of girls. Yeah, let me just document this by taking a photo. There. Okay, you can continue sharing, but we can move to the next question, please. Okay, let's go. Here's the next question. So what for you is power? Sorry for that typo error. Or when you hear the word power, what's the first thing you think of? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? So what is power for you? What for you is power? So we have influence, control, girls, capable, change. Anything else? Any word that you associate with power? Confidence, working together, independence, take lead on, standing together. Yeah, we're seeing more answers. Let's give it another 15 seconds. Okay. Family, children, leadership, pride. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. You can still give your answer and we will document this as we mentioned. But yeah, so for now, we will proceed with the next part of the session. And I pass it now back to Fatima. Thank you so much for your inputs, everyone.
We hope that we can bring your input and impact that you put on the Mentimeter to the document that
Fatima, sorry,
yeah.
The audio is not that clear again.
Okay, sorry. What about now? Not yet.
Can you speak louder?
Okay. What about this? No. What about now?
Yes, better, Fatima.
Okay. Great. I'm so sorry for the technical issue again and again. Yeah. Thank you, Ray. We hope that we can incorporate your insight that you put on the you guys put on the Mentimeter to the document that we are developing after this event. And I also want to remind you that at the end of the session, we will have a group photo. Yay. And for the group photo, if you have any, paper and pen next around you, you can write down what is your demand that you want to put on the group photo, like this. Yeah. And then let us proceed to the next session, which is the synthesis from Liz Collin. She is the Women's Legal and Human Rights Bureau, member of Weaving Women's Voices in Southeast Asia, or WIV. which is a feminist regional network of women's organizations and advocates working at the national level in 6 countries in Southeast Asia. Liz, please, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you. Our speakers have really relayed powerful messages, regarding the issues that they're facing right now. I'm going to share screen a little bit of a synthesis of what they've shared to everyone, just to. So yeah, these are the list of issues mentioned. So perhaps I might not have written everything because of problem in internet connection, but girls having a distinct experience because of their gender and age. They face issues that are different from adults, and even different from older women, from women. So they've shared to us, the speakers, the following issues that they're facing right now during the COVID-19 pandemic, and even prior, and even after, even if the pandemic, as we go on through this pandemic, this continue to persist. So we have the increase of gender-based violence during the pandemic due to the proximity of survivors, of girl victim survivors with the perpetrators, or done anonymously. So we've seen a spike of even gender-based violence perpetrated in online spaces. And then our speakers also shared their experience within the home. So even discrimination, it starts within the home. They experience it at a very young age, in the confines of the home. So they shared that they noticed unequal treatment with the other children, with the boys. There's no political voice at home with the decision making and other matters that affect their lives. Even the little things, they have difficulty in making their voices heard. And that includes, of course, the problem on early marriage. And then our speaker also shared that their issues, they felt that their issues are not prioritized, and they can feel it in meetings, and they can even they observe it in social media, in social media, and in the mainstream media. There's no recognition to the diversity of girls, the lack of respect to those belonging to the LGBTQ community. And they are also not heard in political space. This is connected with their issues being raised, but they felt that they're not being heard, or they feel that it's not being prioritized. And then with their with their participation in the political or civic space, there's limited mobility during COVID-19. And then last, our speakers also mentioned that discriminatory laws. There are laws that remain to discriminate against girls, including the lack of services, or even tackling abortion, which is a really it's a persisting and a really difficult issue to even let adults listen to what the girls are trying to say. So at the individual level, some of the speakers share what they can do in cases of gender-based violence. For example, we need to learn how to identify GBV in our daily lives, learning how to say no. This is in connection with the topic on consent, and in connection with gender-based violence. And then to advocate against GBV in social media. It's connected with this. We post in social media with the issues that affect us, or the agenda that we want to let the public know, which also includes child marriage, and of course starting conversation with those close to us, including our friends, our families. And then the last slide. These are the so far. Maybe Ray can also add, but we need we need to emphasize the importance of having an organized girl children groups, whether and they can the groups of girl children can be done. The strategies complement each other. Whatever strategies that our girls wanted to employ, whether in online and offline spaces. But there is the power of collective advocacy in communities and government in the promotion of safe spaces, the passage of laws for girls, and the repeal of discriminatory laws against girls, and of course, ending child marriage. And then we need to increase access to justice for girls, especially in cases of gender-based violence, and child marriage is also part of that. With the following proposed recommendations, such as the development of a clear regional referral system, which is accessible, affordable, with adequate services, gender sensitive, which will respond to the pandemic context and circumstances, which will also try to answer respond to cross-border issues, and then to consider the healing and recovery of victims. And then we want to listen. Girls want that their agenda should be listened to and supported, and especially by other movements. So one of the speakers, it's notable that she shared that even with women, they felt that their voices are not being heard. And then of course we need to support girls' education, because it contributes. This is the one of the initial steps to contribute to put an end to the many intersecting issues that affect and continue to direct girls' lives. That's all.
Thank you so much, Liz, for summarizing the important discussion that we have today. And also thank you so much again for all the distinguished speakers. Let us give some love, send some love for them. You have reaction button love there. Let's us give some love for them, and also please also send the love through the chat box for the distinguished speaker that we have today. And yeah, before we close the session, before the group photo, we will have the closing ceremony, and also the next step that will be addressed by my beloved colleague Ray. Ray, over to you.
Thank you so much, Fatima. So before we close the event, actually before we have our photo session, so just to remind everyone, I have something like this. So we will show it later. Oh, sorry, it's not that clear. Yeah, so I think we need to, I don't know if there's a way that we can remove the background later. So yeah, it's seen better. But yeah, if you could prepare something like this, then we'll have a photo up later. But before we do that, very quickly, again, thank you, Liz, for summarizing all the points. And in addition, of course, in relation to access to education, ATKIA also related it with the issue again of child early and forced marriage, specifically in Bangladesh and in other countries in the region. And then she spoke about, of course, gender equality and inequality in relation to access to education, saying that girls should be given more access to education and gender equality should begin in the home. I think those are really important points as well, and that it's high time for the society to put more importance and higher regard to girls and invest in education for girls, as it will also contribute to the progress of the country and society and in general. So again, thank you so much to all our speakers. And another mentee, if it's possible, before we have our closing remarks. So I have another wait, let me do that. If you could, again, please go to menti.com and then use this code. I'll tap it in the chat box just very quickly, because we'd really like to capture your views, and we were not able to do that considering the time. So here is another code. If you could go to menti.com. Yeah. So yes, please let me know if you're having a hard time there. So yeah, here's also the link I can also type the link in the chat box and you can go to Menti just very quickly. I type in the code and then I will share my screen. Yes, let me do that so you can see it. We can see the answers that are coming in. So here, so what are the common challenges you face as a girl? I hope that you're able to join the Mentimeter. We can spend another 5 minutes here before we have our closing. So, so far, feeling unsafe, misconception that we can't make as hard as men, being objectified and dismissed, gender discrimination, menstruation, stigma, human trafficking, not being good enough, discrimination, loss of confidence, wage inequality, lack of ownership in their own home, comparison with other girls, sexual harassment. Yeah, I think there are other answers that are coming in. Lack of acknowledgement, catcalling. All right. Thank you. Just keep it coming and then we'll proceed with the next question for now, but you can continue to provide your answer for this one. Yeah. So next question is, I'm not able to hear. So what are your suggestions to improve gender equality? So we've heard our girl speakers talk about their recommendations about how the situation of girls can be improved. But I'm sure that our participants who were not able to speak this time also have ideas on how to do it. So we'd really like to hear from you through the Mentimeter. So what are your suggestions to improve gender equality? Yes. So while we are waiting for the answers, I will do my closing and also mention some next steps. So among the next steps is gathering the highlights of the discussion. So aside from what Liz has presented to us in her summary of discussion, we also have a copy of the recording and we will hear and look at this recording again and capture more points. We will come up with a policy brief. Also, the ideas that are coming in through the Mentimeter will be included in that policy brief. That policy brief will be submitted to the UNESCAP, the main organizer of the Asia Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. We will also share these with, say, Plan International Geneva office as they do their advocacy during the high-level political forum on the Sustainable Development Goal. We will also share these with our country offices, with our networks of the organizing team that are present here right now for dissemination of these points that you raised today. And we will make sure that we will really make use of it for our influencing and advocacy. But please be ensured, especially for our young people who are here right now, that your privacy will be protected, no name will be mentioned, it will remain anonymous, except of course our speakers who have openly disclosed their identity during their presentation. But yes, so just to let you know that this is not just an activity and a discussion, but something that is really significant and will contribute to the review of the Sustainable Development Goals and also our own influencing and programming. And I hope that has helped you as well. I mean, the organizations that are represented here. I hope that our cross-learning have enriched our perspective, our views, and can also help us in our own initiatives. So I'd like to thank you again on behalf of Plan International Asia Pacific, of our co-organizers who are here today, ASEAN Youth Forum. Fatima, thank you so much. To Weaving Women's Voices in Southeast Asia, especially our Weave Brunei. I see a lot of you here, so thank you so much, Judy, and all your colleagues and partners from Brunei, thank you so much. Of course, SARC Youth Platform, thank you so much to our girl speakers, to our sign language interpreters, to our language interpreters, to all of you, to our colleagues from Plan Vietnam, who's doing a lot of work in the background, handling all the technical issues. Thank you, Trang and you, for helping us with this one, for everyone who has been part of organizing these. Thank you so much. And before we close, so I'm seeing all your inputs now. Raise awareness, treat everyone equally, start with education in schools, start with family and schools, stand up and speak out. Thank you so much. You will certainly consolidate and document all these. So thank you for your inputs. And this is not the last time that we will meet. We will also be organizing another event. So this is just a start. We will get in touch with you, give you feedback about what happened to your inputs. And then we will reach out to you through the organization's representative for another event. We're thinking of a regional girls summit, regional girls forum, and we are contemplating of other ways that we can continue our conversation. So again, just to assure you that this is just the beginning of our partnership. Okay, so I think people are now excited for our photo ops. People are starting to test their screen. So yeah, let me do that. Let me just stop sharing. Yeah, how do I do that? I cannot go back to Zoom. Yeah, I should stop sharing first. All right, yes. So are we ready? Are we ready to show the world our calls to action? If it will help you to stop using the background, that's good. I think what's important is to show our calls to action. And then I'd like to request our colleagues from the comms team, maybe Trang and you, please help us with the photo op.
Yes, sure.
Thank you so much.
Everyone turn on your camera, please.
Yeah. Can you see it? Is it clear? I'll remove my background. Trang, will that help?
Yes, it's better if you can remove your background.
Yeah, let's remove our background first. Yes, I think this is better.
Perfect. I got almost everyone here.
Yes.
Okay, please turn on your camera. Take Rayon, Sasivana, Christella. I still cannot see you. One more, please. Others, please turn on your camera. Some of you. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can we have an applause, everyone? Maybe you can, I don't know if you can turn on your mic. Let's make some noise. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you. We'll definitely see you again. We'll reach out to you, as I said, through the organizations represented here. And yes, so thank you to everyone. Just thank you and good luck to us.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Kami na nampak. Bye-bye sudah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fatima, Rosa, Rastra. Thank you, Miss Joy. Thank you to our interpreters, JM, our language interpreters, Lacha, Sapiens. Thank you. Thank you, Trang and you. Amazing work, as always. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, SARC Youth Platform. Thank you. Thank you, Larisha. Thank you. And to our girl speakers, thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Lacha, thank you. Trang, you, thank you so much. Congratulations.